This is Rumble, and I'm Michael Moore. Welcome, everyone. It was 6 months ago today that we first turned this microphone on and recorded our very first episode of Rumble with Michael Moore. We just decided to do it. We talked about it for a long time. We talked to other people who did podcasts and got their advice or whatever, and then myself and executive producer here, Basil Hamden, just decided to throw caution to the wind and get busy. And so now here we are. That was December 17th when we started. This is June 17th as I'm recording this right now. And we have this will be episode number 92 over these 6 months. We're very proud of all of these episodes and so many different guests, such a diversity of thinking and approaches to what we're all trying to deal with right now, and also some very famous and funny and thrilling guests that we've had during this time. So this episode on our 6 month anniversary, I thought it would be a good idea to finally introduce you to, and for me to finally meet, because I have not spoken to them, the winners of our two contests that we've had. We announced before we got our 5 millionth download, 5 millionth listener, that we would, whoever 5 million was, they would get a trip to New York City. This is before the pandemic, and we would have them on the show. So our winner, as you'll hear, for the 5 millionth listener, was difficult to find her. We wrote and we went to LinkedIn. We looked everywhere to try and find her, and she wasn't getting back to us. And we thought that was unusual because, well, she's a listener, but maybe she's not somebody that likes the show so much, if you know what I mean. So, but we finally found her, and you'll hear in my conversation with her exactly what it was that was so important that she was doing that kept her from receiving her prize and being on this podcast. She'll be our first guest. Her name is Ann Krake from Portland, Oregon. Our second guest on this episode, and actually the next two, the second and third guest, are the co-winners. We had a tie for our 10 millionth listener here just in the last couple of weeks. And so the two of them, one of them, his name is Rob Messick. He's a truck driver for UPS in southern New Jersey. And his co-winner is a woman by the name of Kathy Best, and she lives on Vancouver Island, just off the Canadian coast. They're up in Canada. So she will join us as our third guest on this podcast. Again, I have not met any of these people. I will just be talking to them via phone or Zoom or Zencaster, and I'm looking forward to this, and I think you will too. So my producer here, Basil, has already spoken to them, and assures me that we are going to have a good time on this podcast. So thank you for tuning into this. It is day 100 for me in my quarantine, my self-quarantine, my lockdown, my home arrest, whatever it's called. I'm doing fine. Everything is good. And I'm so glad that you've stuck with me. I'm so glad that all of you have been part of this podcast and have listened to it the 2 or 3 or 4 times a week that we decide to do it. You're there. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you to the platforms that have been carrying me for free. And that includes, of course, Apple and iTunes and Google and Stitcher, and especially Spotify and their people at Anchor, and Radio Public, I can't mention all the ones that carry us, but thank you, all of you, platforms that do this. And we plan to do this for another 6 months. God only knows what the next 6 months look like. So we'll be here. We'll be here for you. And maybe when we have the next contest, you'll be on this podcast, which so I'm looking forward to talking to the three that I have with us here today, standing by for their appearance on Rumble. Thank you, all of you, for being part of it. And let's begin by going to our 5 millionth listener from Portland, Oregon. And her name is Ann Krake. Ann, are you there?
I am. Hi, Michael.
Hi, welcome. And congratulations for being number 5 million. It we never we never thought we'd get to 100,000. So we're happy at the moment here for all the people who've been tuning in, but especially to you. And so we saw that you were from Portland, Oregon, and then we discovered, as you told us, that you weren't originally from Portland. And do you want to just tell the people listening where you were born and where you grew up? I don't mean to be laughing, but it's the I don't know what the weird possibility of this of the coincidence of this is. I'll just let you explain to people where you're originally from.
Sure. So I'm originally from Flint, Michigan, like you. I don't really believe in coincidence. Yes. So I think this is an amazing thing that's happening. Yeah.
Yes, I was really surprised because I remember saying to Basil, I said, "Oh, our 5 millionth listeners from Portland, and we all like Portland." Everybody who doesn't love Portland, and then he contacted you, and then we find out that you're actually originally from Flint. So how long did you grow up there, or did were your parents from there, or how'd that all work?
Yeah, so I did grow up there. My mother was originally from Tawas. My dad was actually Vassar, right near Davison, Michigan.
He was from where?
Vassar, Michigan.
Oh, Vassar. Yeah, right up M15, north of where I grew up in Davison. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
They met at Central Michigan in college, and then they moved to Flint. My father got a job with General Motors in their quality control department, and then my mother was eventually to join General Motors when both of us, my sister and I, went to school.
And what did she do there?
She started on the line, but ended up as the labor relations manager at the Buick Black plant in Lake Orion, Michigan.
Oh, right. And then, your dad in quality control. What factory was he in Flint?
He was at Buick.
Okay, so my dad worked on the assembly line at AC Spark Plug.
So did my great grandfather.
Is that right? Oh my God.
Highway. Yeah.
And my dad eventually got to work quality control. So his job essentially was to walk up and down the spark plug line, making sure the spark plugs were being put together correctly.
Yeah.
So it was right over there on, between Dort Highway and Averill Avenue.
Yes.
So that's amazing. And where did you go to high school?
I went to Powers Catholic. And I started at St. Mary's. I actually started at Washington. I don't even know if that school is there anymore on the east side.
Yeah, it's there. It's there, but it's in my last film. It's empty, and so I believe the Pentagon has been using it for target practice. They said when they do urban warfare training, sadly they go and bomb or attack empty buildings in Flint for training.
Yikes.
It's a little, yes, I know it's somewhat ironic and sad to us there. But so you went to St. Mary's. So my dad went to St. Mary's. My dad graduated from St. Mary's High School.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Basil, is anybody still listening to this? It's like we are like Where's Dort Highway? people, people right now are listening to this in Barcelona and going, "What is? Why are we listening about Dort Highway?" No, well, this is, anyways. It was really amazing to hear this once you had been discovered as our 5 millionth listener. So eventually, I guess you were no longer in Flint. Actually, we had a bit of a hard time tracking you down, and we kept writing to you, and then and finally we heard back from you, and you told us why we were having a hard time tracking you down, and maybe you could share with people what it is that you do, and especially what you've been doing for the last few months that made you so difficult to find.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. When people hear what you've been doing, and when we heard it, it was like, oh, geez, it reminds me of something my mother had told me years and years when I was a kid. Basically, is that when somebody is late or hasn't shown up, on time or hasn't called you back, don't start with the assumption that, well, why are they why are they late? You should start with, oh my God, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, very
If you
wise.
haven't heard from them,
Yes.
yeah, like take the kind approach that there might be a reason why you haven't heard back. And now I would love for you to share with the people listening to my podcast why we why it took so long to find you.
Yeah, I love that she gives the benefit of the doubt. I think we all could do that and be more compassionate towards each other.
Yes.
So I graduated from both Michigan State and Michigan, and I got my degree in industrial health from Michigan, and I am a U.S. active duty public health service officer. And so I started with NIOSH in Cincinnati, the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. And then I've since moved several. This is my fourth agency now. But right now I'm actually working for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And as you know, as a lot of people know, we were in charge of establishing the alternate care facilities that were set up for people who had both COVID and non-COVID related issues.
The mobile hospitals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of them weren't mobile. Some of them we went into old veterans facilities, for instance, that weren't being used anymore. And actually we had some care sites set up in stadiums and at fairgrounds, for instance. Fortunately, we did end up needing to use most of them, but that's what you want, right? You want to have it and not need it. And so I do that. And then I'm also in charge of a regional safety and occupational health program for the Army Corps of Engineers with about 5,300 employees. And we manage the hydropower plants up and down the Columbia and the Missouri rivers. So we've got 14 states, and it's a big job.
Wow. So what you're telling me is that while we were desperate trying to find you, spending all this energy trying to track you down, you were just off helping people who had come down with COVID-19 and as a public health officer with the Army Corps of Engineers. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, no, seriously. Well, first of all, thank you for the work that you do and that you've been doing in these past few months. When you finally got a hold of us and you told us what was going on, we were, first of all, embarrassed for our bugging you so much, but also, so it was just another serendipitous thing, not just the Flint connection or the fact that your parents and my dad and grandparents worked in Flint for General Motors and went to St. Mary's, but also the fact that you were out there on the front lines trying to help this pandemic, trying to help American citizens coming down with this. And so thank you very much for that.
I thought it was a hoax.
When we contacted you, yes. You thought it was a...
Yeah, because what I do for a living is risk management. And so I thought I saw some red flags.
What was the first one? My name?
No, it was Basil's back in February.
Oh, right. He's our executive producer.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought this must be an advertisement for something. So I didn't even open the email, like an advertisement for the podcast. And so I didn't open the email. But what caught my attention, though, was the email from you that said, "Hey, Ann," from Michael Moore. And I thought, oh, God, I better open this. Because I forgot about the 5 millionth podcast. I don't even remember. Did I enter something about that? Or I don't even remember, right? Because it was back in like October or November.
Geez, Basil, when was this? 5 million was March, but it was right at the thick of gearing up for the pandemic.
It was the email came in from Ann on February 29th.
On February 29th. So okay, so it was the last day of February. Otherwise, in a leap year known as March. How long was it, Basil, before we actually connected with Ann? Then
it was May. It was the middle of May.
May. So it was from the beginning of March to May, because you're out there running around the country, trying to help save lives. No, so it's okay, I get it now. So Basil told me also, if I remember correctly, when we finally spoke, he said that this particular podcast that you downloaded and listened to there around February 29th was the first time you'd ever listened to a podcast. Is that correct?
It is.
What's the chance also of you never listening to a podcast before, and then the first time you do, you're the winner of the 5 millionth podcast listener?
Exactly.
Okay, but so what made you decide to actually try a podcast, and then why mine? Because there's a lot funnier podcasts out there.
Well, I don't do it for the entertainment necessarily. I knew I would get some hope, because I found hope in all of your materials, up till now. And I was really needing some hope. I've been a fan of yours for years, Michael. In fact, I've been wanting to tell you this story. When I meet people and I don't know their political leanings yet, and they ask me where I'm from, I always tell them, "Oh, I'm from Flint, Michigan, me and Michael Moore." And if they roll their eyes and say something like, "Oh, that guy," then I know I probably can't talk politics with them.
Right.
The opposite, then I know, hey, we could be friends.
Wow. That's, I don't know what to say to that. I thank you, I guess. Right. That means a lot. And I'm glad I've also been a filter to protect you from people that you don't want to get into an argument with. So back in March, right after you downloaded and listened to the 5 millionth person to listen to Rumble, I decided to go into my own quarantine, and I wasn't in Traverse City at the time. I happened to be in New York, and I have had an apartment in New York for many years because I work here, movies, et cetera, So I decided to hunker down in this apartment. Today is day 100 of me inside this apartment. And I mean inside. I have not gone out. And I talked to my doctor about it. I had pneumonia a couple years ago, and he said, "Your lungs are in somewhat of a compromised situation. You're a man. You're over 60, so I think it's best to just stay put. Especially you're in New York City, which is the epicenter of much of this, especially a lot of the death. And so that's what I've done." And I've stayed inside. I have a little deck outside my window here, so I get out and get some sun and some air, and I walk back and forth on it. I try to do at least a mile or two a day.
That's awesome.
I'm so bored with it now that I'm starting to count up how many marathons I've actually walked, 26.2 miles. So I I look like an elite athlete. No, I don't. But I feel like one at this point. But I mean, and I know you're not a doctor, but as a public health officer and a person in charge of worrying about and thinking about other people's health right now during COVID-19. When can I get out? Because I feel like I mean, listen, on day 100 here, and and listen, there have been a lot of good things for me. It's given me time to think. I think that's true for everybody listening to this who've been home. For the people that have had to stock grocery shelves and drive buses and all of, God bless all of you for risking your lives for the rest of us. But I've started writing my next movie. I'm doing the podcast. I released Friends film. So I've been busy. But and I now know that I would do very, very well under house arrest. What hope can you give me? And when can I leave?
Yeah, we've got similar issues here. I've been on max telework now, which means I work completely from home, which is 100% different from being in the office and with all my coworkers. And so I have to do what I can for good self-care, and that's vital for you as well. So, and I hear you're doing what you can for yourself while you're isolated. If you want to go out, I think you would be okay. And what I would advise for you, because you've got compromised lungs potentially, and you're in a higher risk category, is that you find some way to find a more protective face cover. Not an N95, because those go to healthcare providers and first responders.
Right.
Essentially like a Korean N95. Those are called KN95s. And you can wear one of those in public. And it's much safer to be in public when you have something like that on and you can maintain social distance. And I hear what you're saying about the streets in New York being empty. This is probably a really good time for you to get out and take a walk around the block, for instance, as long as you've got your protective face covering. If you want to go a step further, I recommend a face shield as well as the KN95 mask. And so what that does is protect your other mucous membranes, your eyes and things. It protects you from touching them, and it protects, in case somebody comes up and wants to have a conversation with you, it protects you from their droplets if they're not wearing a face covering.
Like, I've always thought the eyes were very vulnerable in this, in the sense that for something to go into your mouth has to be open, or you have to put your fingers in your mouth, or to go up your nose. I mean, that's kind of you gotta, I don't know how airflow works, but it has to go down and then up in the nose. But the eyeballs are right there. They're just right there and open.
And we touch them a lot, right? We scratch them.
And we do touch, of course.
Yes, exactly.
But so you think it's okay? You think that if I took the proper precautions and just, like, I'd love to walk over to Central Park and just breathe, and when can I go home? When can I go back to Michigan? When can I get in the car? I mean, I can't drive through Canada, which is the easiest way to just go through Buffalo or Niagara Falls and then go into Michigan that way. But the borders are still closed. So I don't know. I don't want to fly. I don't want to fly.
Mm-hmm. Right. I don't advise that either.
Right. You agree with that?
Yeah.
So I could rent a car, wipe it all down. And Traverse City hours on the road from here is probably about 12 to 15 hours, I'm guessing. So it means I need to bring some food. I've tried to think this whole thing out, like Escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah.
So actually there's a movie, Escape from New York.
Exactly. And keep your air on recirculate.
Right. So if I go out for a walk today or tomorrow, walk over to the park, stay away from people, use the protection that you suggested, I'm not going to end up 5 weeks from now 6 feet under and because people will have heard this podcast and who they're going to come after. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I'm trying to protect you at this point here.
Yeah, thank you.
There's a rabid fan base of this podcast.
I think you should see how you feel. So your mental health is worth a lot. And if
Yes.
you're out there and you feel insecure, you feel concerned at all, then it's not worth it. But if you get out there and you feel like, oh, this is what I needed and wanted, and this is really good for my mental health, then I would keep doing it and take all the precautions.
Let me just ask you before we wind up here. So you before you went into lockdown, you were traveling around the country. You were helping set up these. I don't know what I called the mobile hospitals, but essentially facilities that could take the overload of cases of people that were coming in because of the pandemic. What did you see? Because most of us haven't traveled the country in the last, 4 months or so. What can you tell us that what you saw of our wonderful country?
So I actually wasn't the one on the ground. It was our engineers who go out and assess the sites to make sure that they're appropriate for what we were looking to build.
So what did you hear? What did you hear back then from people?
Well, several of our folks ended up getting sick. We weren't sure back then how best to protect our employees. So a couple of them did get COVID, but they reported nothing but the interest to help, right? People really wanted to help set up these mobile units and make sure we had space for people who needed it in the hospitals. And so the last time I traveled, actually, I was in Kansas City at our district there. And I went into one of our hydropower plants to do an assessment. And one of the employees actually, and this was like early March, this is the first week of March, he said, "What are you doing here?" At that time, we really didn't have an indication of what we were up against or how far it had already spread. And so that was kind of my first clue that, okay, I need to stop all travel. I need to cancel the rest of my assessments, which I did. They're now scheduled for late fall. And then I was virtually deployed by my agency to make sure the employees on the front lines had the most protective equipment they could have, given what we knew at the time when they went out to assess these sites. So that was my role in this.
But you took it seriously from the beginning. I mean, even though people were wondering, why are you here?
Yes.
You knew why you were there. Yeah.
Yes.
You said a number of people working for the Army Corps of Engineers or on your health team got sick, got the virus. Did they all live? I mean, did anybody pass away? Oh, that's good.
Yep. They're doing just fine.
Well, that's good. So yeah, no, there's in New York here, the Javits Center, which is the big convention center in New York, was turned into one of these field hospitals.
Yes.
Did your team or anybody have anything to do with that? Or
that was the North Atlantic Division that's headquartered right there in New York City.
So they did that.
Yeah.
And you're in what division are you in?
The Northwestern Division. So
the Northwest
divisions in the Army Corps of Engineers, and FEMA tasked us with these mission assignments, what we call MAs, to go and visit these sites. So they gave us the money to do that. So it was working collaboratively with FEMA and then with state and local governments to get these facilities up and running.
Boy, I'll tell you, you all did this very fast. It was amazing.
It's what we do. We're the Army Corps of Engineers.
I think the one in Javits Center was up in like less than 5 days. I think it was it was amazing how fast that went up. And I know I've always had such great respect for the Army Corps of Engineers. And as I've traveled the country and you hear of the different projects and the different environmental things and the different things that the Army Corps does to help. And I have felt, you and I, being from Flint, that since the water emergency crisis catastrophe started in Flint, now this would be, geez, how many years is it now? 5-6 years. That I just kept saying, somebody call in the Army Corps of Engineers, dig up these pipes that are now poisoned because of the lead poisoning, and replace them with new pipes. Was I crazy to suggest that, or is that something that the Army Corps of Engineers can do, or it's because it seems like now you all can do anything. So I don't know. I still think it's a good idea because the water still isn't right in Flint.
Right. No, I think it is a good idea. It's just going to take a lot of time and resources, money, right? And so what we do in the Corps of Engineers is we actually consult, or we hire contractors. So we oversee the contracts, the people who would actually be doing that work, and it would take probably the state to come to the Army Corps of Engineers and ask for help with that. And I'm not sure that the resources are available for that kind of an effort.
Right. No. For right now, especially, right? Yeah.
I would hope that there's some emphasis placed there because this is a lifelong problem. When you poison a child with lead, the effects last a lifetime, unfortunately.
I know that I've tried to tell people this. I said, there's no medicine you can take to make it better. It's a permanent life sentence when you poison a child with lead, especially under the age of 6.
Yeah.
And so for these 6 years, all these kids that were under 6, and now some of those are now 12 years old, and they're seeing all the problems. And Dr. Mona there in Flint, and everybody has had to step in and try to help. Just the behavioral issues from their brain having, first of all, their IQ, everybody's IQ with lead goes down 10, 20 more %. And then all these other issues. It's just so sad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring this up, but I just started thinking, well, you're in the Army Corps of Engineers, and I know you don't run the Army Corps of Engineers.
No, they did help with those Midland dams. We did consult on that.
Yes.
So
yes, the flooding last month.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Right. Oh, that was horrific. That was something. Yes. Well, Ann Krake of Portland, Oregon, originally from Flint, Michigan. I am so happy and proud that you are, I should say were now, the 5 millionth listener. We're on our way to 12 million right now.
Wow.
That's how long it took us to track you down.
Wow.
So we're going to have our 10 millionth listener on here shortly. But I just, today also, in addition to being my 100th day inside, it's also the 6-month anniversary of this podcast. We started Rumble 6 months ago today on December 17th. And so here we are 6 months later, and we got to talk to you. And the fact that this was the very first podcast you'd ever listened to on that particular day that you became 5 million is makes it even sweeter. So, any final words you want to add here before we head on to our 10 millionth listener?
Yeah, no, I just want to say congratulations and thank you. I can't thank you enough for the work that you do and the hope that you bring and the awareness that you bring. I love your stuff and I will continue to listen. You've done several interviews that have made me cry and made me laugh. And for that, I really appreciate just exactly what you do. So don't stop doing what you're doing. And I hope I get to meet you someday. You mentioned it might be a possibility that I get to fly to New York, and I hope that we get to do that.
Oh, it's not a possibility. Yes, I forgot to mention this. You are going to get a trip to New York out of this. We were just forced to remove that prize during the pandemic. But no, that is definitely on. And I look forward to meeting you, whether it's here in New York or in Michigan. I don't know if you ever get back there. But I'm grateful for you and all the others who do listen to this. And those are kind words from you, and I do appreciate them. And this has been a wonderful way to celebrate the 6-month anniversary of this podcast, speaking with you. And thank you for being part of the Army Corps of Engineers and for being a public health officer and for making everyone in Michigan happy by getting degrees from both the University of Michigan and Michigan State. So nobody from Michigan hated you during this podcast. They all loved you, and your parents went to Central Michigan University. So you've got every base covered with Michiganders.
And then some.
No, but I mean, seriously, though, thank you for your work with the Army Corps of Engineers, and to all the other people with the Army Corps of Engineers during this pandemic. It's greatly appreciated. It will not be forgotten by the American public. And thank you again for coming on Rumble here with me.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Okay, Ann. That's Ann Krake from Portland, Oregon, originally of Flint, Michigan. Thank you so much, Ann.
Thank you.
Wow, that was an incredible conversation with a fellow Flintoid, Ann Krake. I think that Basil's just texting me here. She's texting him right now. She wants to point out to everybody listening that her advice to me to go out and go for a walk with all the proper gear and everything, that I should only do what my doctor recommends. She's not a physician. And that goes for everybody who's listening. Do what your doctor says is best, and do what your own, you know your bodies, you know whether or not you should be inside or outside or around people or not around people or whatever. We all know we should be wearing the protective gear and washing our hands and not touching our faces. We all know that. But no, thank you, Ann, for reminding us. Yes, of course, follow your doctor's orders. But I'll tell you, anytime I'm told to do something by the Army Corps of Engineers, I'm right there. So I might just take that walk very soon. Mental health is everything, folks. Okay, we're going to go on now to our we had a tie for our 10 millionth listener. This just happened a couple of weeks ago, I believe, because I know where are we at? We're over 11.5 million right now. Right. So this was a couple of weeks ago. So, so the first one we have up here, ready to talk, is Mr. Rob Messick, and he is from New Jersey. And if we're ready to go, let's just jump right in here to talk to a Rumble listener, our 10 millionth listener, co-10 millionth listener, Mr. Rob Messick from New Jersey. And congratulations for being our number 10 million here on Rumble.
Thank you. It's pretty exciting.
And so where am I talking to you from? I've got you on the phone here. Where are you?
I'm in Washington Township, which is in southern New Jersey.
Washington Township. Now, give me an idea. I'm not from this area, but I've been here enough, so I sort of know New Jersey. Where exactly is this?
I am 15 minutes east of Philadelphia and about 40 minutes west of Atlantic City. Oh,
okay. Oh, right. All right. So I know right where you're at. So you're on the main drag there from Philly to Atlantic City.
Exactly.
Okay, great. And now, so what do you do down there in southern New Jersey?
I'm a UPS driver. I've been with UPS for 25 years.
Wow, a UPS driver. So are you working right now during the pandemic?
Yes.
You are. Oh, geez.
We are working hard. Some people are working 6 days a week. We're doing 10 to 12-hour days.
Jeez.
It's like Christmas the past 3 months.
Okay, yeah, Christmas for you guys, not the rest of us.
Yeah, we call it peak season.
Yeah. So listen, well, first of all, let me just say thank you on behalf of everybody who's been living off getting packages delivered. People, like myself, I've been in my own kind of self quarantine. This is actually day 100.
Wow.
For me. No, I have not been out in 100 days. Fortunately, I have a little tiny deck off my apartment here. So I go out there for sun and fresh air. And
I was a little worried about you being stuck in that apartment.
No, I know. And it's I used to brag to people like the apartment's on top of a movie theater, but the movie theaters have been closed since the beginning of March. So I can't even go downstairs to a movie. No, I get out and I've explained this to people. I've been able, the deck is only maybe 3 or 4 feet wide, but it's narrow. So I can walk back and forth and I've marked off how many times I'd have to go for a mile. And now I think I'm in my second, or I've done my second marathon. So now I'm in my third
That's funny.
26.2 miles of walking. I must look like a crazy man to the neighbors out there, just walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But you are walking back and forth, actually lifting boxes, some of them pretty heavy. I mean, I hope you know this. You're considered one of the frontline workers that kept us all, going here. I mean, we couldn't function, I don't know, these days. And I hope you receive that gratitude from the people you're delivering the boxes to, because for people who can't get out, you're the lifeline, and it's much appreciated. And also, I think, I don't need to tell you this. I'm sure your family members and friends have said this, but you are risking your health and you're risking your life to do this job.
Yeah, it really worried me in the beginning, especially because I do see so many people, and I do deliver to hospitals and dentist offices and regular doctor offices. So it was scary, and it took a week or two, but UPS did give us the proper materials to the mask and the gloves, and they made that available to us.
Right. Yeah, so you're wearing a mask, you're wearing gloves. Do you have an eye shield or anything to protect your eyes?
No.
Goggles, anything like that? Glasses? No. But hands and face mask. What else do you do for your protection?
We aren't getting signatures right now. So if we walk into a business, we wave to the people we know. We're like, here's your package. And then we sign it, COVID, and then the person's name. So we are practicing social distancing.
Have you gotten sick during this time?
No, fortunately.
Do you know anybody who has?
No, we're pretty good in our building.
Wow. So at least at your distribution center, none of the UPS workers have come down with COVID-19.
Maybe we're in a very large building, and there's easily 1,000 people that work there throughout the shifts of the day. And I've heard of one or two people have gotten it, but they seem to be, I've heard they're okay, but I don't personally know anyone.
Right. And nobody's died.
Correct. So we've been fortunate.
Well, that's very fortunate. Yes, because New Jersey, as you know, along with the state of New York, are the two highest states in the country with the most cases and the most deaths. So why do you think that is? I mean, I don't have the answer. I don't know. I mean, I guess I can kind of guess about New York because so many people from around the world come in and out. And in those early weeks, lots of people flying from other countries or whatever.
And North Jersey there below New York is almost as crowded. So I think that's where a lot of it.
Yeah. But down in southern New Jersey, not so dense, not so packed in.
Correct. Yeah, it's not quite as bad down here.
Right. And have you noticed a difference in the packages or what people are shipping to each other or what people are ordering? You mentioned it was like Christmas, but I'm guessing people aren't getting PlayStations and dolls and other things right now.
You would be wrong there.
I would be wrong.
It's when they're home, people are going a little crazy. At first, we did see
right,
more
of course.
groceries and
shopping
makes
you right, but shopping makes you feel better, right?
But then it's gazebos and trampolines and
I
guess things to entertain their kids, while they're home.
Yeah. Wow. So you've heard of a gazebo being delivered?
Yes. I personally delivered gazebos.
You personally? How do you fit the gazebo in the back of the truck? How does that?
It's not built already. It's in a box.
So it's in a box. So they have to build it.
Yes, but it's a very heavy box.
It must be a very heavy box. You don't stick around and help them build it.
I do not.
Right.
Although they often ask me.
No, really?
It's a joke. It's always.
Oh, okay.
You hear the same
they're
jokes
kidding.
a lot.
Oh, yeah. Especially anything. If it says IKEA on the box, you want to run away as fast as possible. Just because that'll be the end of your week right there. So how heavy is a gazebo box? Or do you have a limit? Is there a rule as to how much you can lift when you take it from the truck to the house?
We're not supposed to lift things over 150. That's the UPS limit.
You mean 150 pounds?
Yes, that's our limit that we take in.
Okay, dude, I haven't been able to bench press more than 120. So
we do have a dolly. We do have a hand cart.
Okay,
that helps some, but they get heavy. Yes.
Wow. What do you do to prevent injuries in a case like that where you're having to lift a box that's 150 pounds?
Well, you got to work smart. I mean, most of us do stretches in the morning, so you got to be ready to go. And you push it towards the end of the truck and you try to slide it down onto the hand cart. You got to work smart.
You slide it, get it on the hand cart. Sometimes you have to strap it in just in case.
No, but we can balance it pretty easily. The hand cart's very sturdy.
Right. And you understand the laws of physics and
Yes.
the angle and all. Yes, of course. And gravity. So you get it up to the house. Now the house has steps before you can get up to the front door. Now what?
Depends on how many steps. If it's a third floor apartment, then you're just doing one step at a time. If it's just a house, you can slide it up.
Yeah, I was thinking a house. So you actually go into apartment buildings and go up like 3 floors with something like that.
Yes.
Holy smokes. Jeez. Man. So what's your investment in Bengay?
Right.
Or Icy Hot? What is
You know what? If you stay well hydrated, you're pretty much good.
And what does the hydration have to do with it?
You drink a lot of water and it just keeps you going. It keeps your muscles ready.
Yeah, more flexible. They've got more fluid. They're not going to tense up and get tight. I see what you're saying. Wow. What's the craziest thing that you've delivered, especially during these last 3 or 4 months? I mean, we're not crazy, but just what's maybe the oddest or,
You know what? It was 10,000 bees in a little box.
10,000 bees in a box.
It was no bigger than a lunchbox. And the woman was like, "Oh, that's my 10,000 bees."
Oh,
and I was so thankful it didn't open.
What if you've been in the truck and that thing had accidentally opened?
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
So what does she want 10,000 bees for?
She wants to start making her own honey.
Right. Isn't there like a shortage of bees right now? Aren't we like missing a bunch of bees in the world? Like, I don't know, I read that somewhere. Like millions of bees are no longer with us.
Yeah, colony collapse, right? Isn't that what they call it?
Yeah. Right. Well, hopefully she'll do some good with that. What else? Anything else that struck your fancy there where you just thought, okay, I'm gonna mark that on my bucket list. Get that someday.
It's every once in a while you see the adult entertainment boxes, and they're always kind of funny because they're clearly marked.
I think I don't think I understand. By adult entertainment, you mean
toys? You see, the names of whatever the items are.
I see.
And that's funny. That's
sexually oriented materials.
Yeah,
that are also funny.
It's funny to us because the person comes out to get the package and they get all embarrassed, and we don't. We don't.
Because they were probably told in the advertisement that everything is completely confidential. It comes in a plain brown box, right? And there you are, holding somebody's sex toy.
Right.
All right. Well, that's worth a selfie at least, right? I mean, I don't know. So UPS, are you guys are union, right? You have a union,
thank goodness.
Yes.
We need more unions.
We need, yes. What union do you belong to?
It's the Teamsters.
The Teamsters, yeah. Well, they're great. James Hoffa Jr., one of our best union leaders right now. But we need more. We need more unions, like you said. How do we do that? It's
a good question. I'm dying for the Teamsters to get into Amazon.
Oh, right.
That would just be because unions are great equalizers. It doesn't matter if you're white, black, man, woman. We're all overworked.
Right.
I remember you saying that about one of the GM unions, right? Didn't you say they integrated the workforce back to the 50s?
Very early on. I think even in the 40s they started it. The UAW did. Yes.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Long before the rest of society, they just said that it was wrong that black workers were down in the foundry and in the furnaces and the worst of the worst jobs. And they said, we have to share this. Everybody has to take their turn. And sometimes you get the easier job on the assembly line and sometimes you don't. But you're not stuck with that the rest of your life just simply because of your skin color.
Right.
So that's a good thing. How's it been going like during the protests and since the murder of George Floyd? And I mean, we're in a really tumultuous time right now. And I'm just curious, you're driving truck and you're everywhere. You're in this neighborhood, that neighborhood, whatever. Just what's the vibe? What's the vibe out there? And I'm asking that because I have not been outside. So I watch it on TV, but you've been outside. You've been around people.
Yeah. The vibe's not bad. The protests that I've seen have been very peaceful. I've seen them on street corners. I beep at them. I wave at them. I see a lot of young people there. They had a parade in my town on Saturday, and everything's very peaceful. So I'm hoping, their point gets across. I'm hoping, people start to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's happening. I saw a poll today that said almost 75% of the American people support the demonstrations. 75%. I was like, wow. I also saw in the news over the weekend in Franklin Township, New Jersey. I don't know where that is.
It's called Franklinville.
Franklinville.
It's 10 minutes away from me.
Oh my God, 10 minutes from you. So do you know what I'm talking about? What happened there?
100% know what you're talking about.
Will you explain this to the people? Because I saw it on TV that kids were having a parade, a demonstration, very peaceful, going down one of the streets there in Franklinville. And
Delsey Drive, it's called. It's a major road.
Oh, it's a major road. Okay.
It actually goes right to the shore. That was the old road before the highways came in. Everyone would take Delsey Drive.
Oh, okay. So tell people what happened as these young people and some parents and kids, very, very peaceful, very middle American, just going down the road with their signs. And then they passed by somebody's yard.
Yeah. I think there was 3 guys out front.
3 guys were reenacting the murder. 3 white guys were reenacting the murder of George Floyd, literally with one of the guy's knee on the guy's neck and the other guy shouting at the demonstrators, like mocking them or just like, look at this. And they wanted to show these young people. And there was one mother with her little kids and she was trying to shield their eyes from watching these grown men reenact the murder with smiles on their faces. Unbelievable.
It's atrocious. It's embarrassing. I had heard that the one person was fired and the other person worked actually for the local jail down there, and he got put on suspension. But I kind of worry that they're going to rehire him because maybe they like people like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's disgusting.
What does that say about? I mean, I'm sure you don't want people to think of Southern New Jersey. I mean, it took years for Americans to, when they think of Southern New Jersey, the Jersey Shore, to not think of the situation and that house, the Jersey Shore house, and now this
situation.
Can you say a few good words about Southern New Jersey for people that are listening to this?
I love Southern New Jersey. It is beautiful. We got lakes and rivers and forests. We have the Pine Barrens.
Oh, right.
And most of the people I know are fantastic. The people I deliver to are fantastic.
Right.
But, some people have been poisoned by the news, especially things like Fox News. And it's made them into people who maybe they weren't. It's made them angry about things that they have no idea that they should be angry about.
Right.
Yeah. It's turned people.
It's sad. It's very sad. But they don't seem to be the majority anymore.
No, they are not. And it's funny because in New Jersey, you always know somebody who worked for Donald Trump or got ripped off by Donald Trump. So though there are supporters here, like anywhere, you got a lot of people who kind of don't like them because they know somebody, who had some experience with them.
Right. So how come, what happened to you and I? We're just, we're 2 white guys from the working class. How come we didn't end up as Trump voters? What's the deal there? Right. Because 2/3 of all white men voted for Trump in 2016. And I try to explain this to people, but it is what it is.
For me, I'm always thinking about the future, and I'm thinking about my daughters. I have 2 beautiful daughters named Lila and Callie. And I think like the world I want them to live in doesn't have racism. I didn't even know what racism was until I was in 3rd grade when they taught us about Martin Luther King. And it blew my mind. I was like, what are you talking about? They're the same. Like what? It just didn't make sense to me. So that's the way I was raised. I was raised to not even notice a difference.
Wow. What did your parents do?
My dad was a truck driver as well. And my mother is still a nurse.
Wow. Has she been working during this time?
We're fortunate she did have an injury, which kept her out of work. during this time.
What son before this would ever have said, fortunately, she had an injury? Right. So she didn't have to go to work.
Yeah. So we're lucky because her work, I know they had, I think out of like 150 people there, 100 people ended up having it.
Wow.
But it's an elderly care facility.
Oh, the worst now.
Yeah.
People dying. Yes. Wow. So that's how you were raised by your mom and dad.
Yes.
To not hate people because they happen to be different from you. Was your dad a union member too?
Yes. Yeah. He was a Teamster as well.
Yeah. Wow. So, one of the things I hope after this pandemic, like I think a lot of people have been their eyes have been opened on the issue of race. That wasn't an intended thing, but that was already happening in terms of the number of Black and Hispanic people that were dying with the pandemic versus white people. But also all these other things we've been shown that, our healthcare system is in huge trouble. And the things that I wish we had that other countries have in terms of, paid family leave or childcare or things like this that would just make our lives so much easier when we're in a situation like this.
I have a job that has great benefits. Teamsters fought hard for it. But if they told me, next year that we're going for universal health care, I'd be right there. Because I hate the idea of a future where, again, my daughters, what if they get trapped into a job they don't like because that's where they got to get their health care? We need something better. Because at 65, we're all going to get put on Medicaid anyway. So why not we, get it right now? Let's get it going. Let's fix it.
Yes, let's get it. I hate the idea that anybody'd have to and how many times have we heard this from people in our lifetime that they're only staying in the job that they hate because of the benefits, you know? And if those benefits, like in all other democracies, essentially are guaranteed, whether it's healthcare, childcare, elderly care, all that stuff. Once you're guaranteed that, and you could just go and look for the job that would make you happy, we'd all be better off. We'd all be better off simply just because we'd be happier, and not just, imprisoned by, I can't give this up because the health benefits are so good. Well,
you're right.
Yes, it should be already good. It should be a right.
UPS has a huge army of part-time workers. They load trucks, unload trucks. You remember, you had an episode where you went to UPS to say, why aren't you making more full-time jobs?
Oh, right. So this is back on my TV show.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, great episode. Right. I was a kid then, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Why aren't we full-time? Because back then I was. And those part-timers, where they're people who own their own businesses, like landscapers, they're artists, they're painters. And, they got to get up at 4 a.m, go to work, when they should be home creating. But they need the benefits. UPS does give benefits to part-timers.
Well, that's good. That doesn't happen in a lot of cases. And in fact, when the General Motors and Chrysler, which had to be taken over by the government during the bankruptcy, and when Obama gave them back to the companies, to the shareholders, and immediately they went into a 2-tier system. So say somebody like you've been there at UPS for 25 years, you're at the good pay, level, but anybody new hiring in had to start working for $10 an hour or $12 an hour. And it was just another way to try and crash out the union, but from the other end of it. It's all wrong as far as I'm concerned. I'm for fairness. I'm for everybody having a seat at the table and getting a slice of the pie. And, I don't have to make what the next person's making. There are people that make more than me. There are people who make less than me, but everybody should have a slice of the pie that is a decent slice that they can live on, put a roof over their head, and our kids' schools, right, including college, the tuition is now free here in the state of New York, but it should be that way. When I was growing up, Rob, University of Michigan, Michigan State, I don't know what it was, $500 a year, $1,000 a year. Out in California, the UC system, Berkeley, all that, UCLA, free. It's free. You pay for your books, I don't know. I've had a lot of time sitting around thinking of ideas of what we need to do once we're out of this pandemic, but you've been driving around and doing, you must have had some time, like things going through your head thinking, we could do this differently and we could be better as a people. I'm just curious in these 3 or 4 months, what has gone through your head where you've thought, you know what, there is a better way for us to live, to be as a society, as a country. And maybe it's even the smallest idea. I'm just curious if you've had any of those thoughts going through your head, or have you mostly kept your eyes on the road?
Well, yeah, always keeping your eyes on the road.
Yes.
People don't notice the big brown truck coming down the street sometimes, so you got to watch out for everyone.
Right.
But I'm so progressive in every facet of my thoughts, as far as, like you said, with the college. I have 2 daughters, and I'm praying that Biden fulfills that, at least at a state level, colleges should be free.
Yes. Yes.
Something. And like we already talked about the healthcare, it's all these things, it's helping, even though the post office is our competitor, we still need them to thrive, because UPS doesn't want to take on all that work. I mean, the corporate people do, but us workers don't.
No, we want the post office to survive.
Yeah. And you know what, like you were saying, mail-in ballots, so important. We have them here in New Jersey. You can sign up for it. It's fantastic.
Same in Michigan.
I just got my primary ones in the mail yesterday.
So easy.
I'll still be filling in Bernie, though. So, people still get those delegates.
Yes, he needs the delegates. He's made it clear. I mean, he's been very good with Biden and, making sure we get rid of Trump, but he needs those delegates at the convention so we can get the platform that we want.
I'm spreading the word, believe me.
Yeah. And don't worry, you're not going to hurt Biden by doing it. You're not going to give Trump the election. Just we need a progressive platform, and we need. I don't know. I don't know if when you were listening to this, when you became the 10 millionth listener to Rumble here, had you listened to it before? Had you been listening to it?
Yeah, I got on right away.
Oh, okay. All right. So then you've listened to me talk about, I really try to hang on to some optimism here, even especially with Biden, that he's brought Bernie into the process. They've formed these task forces to work on the platform. And I know a lot of the Bernie people are involved in this. And I think Biden is open to, he's very old school in his thinking and not quite in the year 2020. But as you said, he said that public school tuition, secondary, post-secondary college, should be free. He wants to lower the Medicare age from 65 to 60, which,
it's a step.
It's a step. And I sent him a note saying, you already had that demographic tied up, Joe. The 60 to 65 year olds, you need to say something like, how you're on your parents' health insurance till you're 26. Well, I'm not going to do this to your parents till you're 36, but we're going to lower Medicare 5-10 years on one end, and we're going to up it from 26 up to 36 or 40 on the other end, because that's when you're making the least amount of money anyways in your youth.
That's very true. And
at some point here, very soon, we'll come together and everybody will be covered. Something like that. I don't know. It's just, but I'm somewhat hopeful that he sees that, and because I say that not just because I know that people, you've got to give people a reason to come out and vote, and I know a lot of people think, it's enough of a reason that Trump is the worst thing, since Benedict Arnold, but that really doesn't always work for everybody. And they need a positive reason, not just a hate reason, but a positive reason to come out and get excited. I'm the way that, at least the way I was when I voted for Obama there in the first time he ran that morning, getting up and voting. And, oh man, I couldn't wait to get to the polls. We need people to feel that way on November 3rd or before that, if you're mailing in, to get excited.
He does got to get the excitement up. I'm happy that there's no hate against him that I really see. There's no vitriol like I saw for Hillary.
Right? Yes, so that's true.
So that's a plus.
That's a plus.
But he does need to give us more hope. He does need to really be out there and tell us what kind of future. Yeah, sorry.
And he has to I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say he has to inspire the uninspired. And let me tell you, there's millions of people who are in despair and who are uninspired. And I'm hoping that he can do that. anyways, I just wanted to call you and congratulate you for being our 10 millionth listener. We're already over 11 million now.
That's incredible.
It's gone so fast in these last few weeks. But everybody's awareness, I think, is heightened in terms of what's going on politically and socially, and you know, and I'm glad you were. I mean, of all the people, you were number 10 million, and yeah, so our executive producer Basil, I think, got a hold of you and to give you the good news. And now, you know, for the 5 millionth winner, they got a trip to New York.
Wow.
A trip to New York for you.
It's an hour drive.
Yeah, get on the Amtrak. New Jersey Transit.
Right.
So we will have a separate prize for you. That will be something that you'll be pleased to have. We just didn't figure that. We didn't know the winner would be just outside of New York here in New Jersey. So we'll come up with something good. This is where you're supposed to say, yes, you mean the flight to Fiji that you're going to pay for, Mike.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know about
signed
that.
Copy of Canadian bacon is in the mail, right?
Oh, that's easy for me to do. I would love to do that. Did you say to Basil or something? Did you do when he contacted you something? You quoted Canadian bacon.
Yeah. I watched that movie with my dad years ago. We were always fans of John Candy.
Yeah,
and the line where he's at the hockey game and he's like, "And another thing, their beer sucks."
Yeah,
and everyone stops and stares. I still quote that line. I just always found that so funny.
Yeah, he's an American from Niagara Falls, New York, and he goes to a hockey game in Niagara Falls, Canada. And yes, and the whole crowd overhears him saying that the Canadian beer sucks, and it literally starts a riot because it's hard to get the Canadians to riot. You know, they're very peaceful people, except when they're playing hockey.
Yeah.
So you can't if you say that in a hockey arena, you've offended the Canadians, and those are fighting words because they love their beer. They love their beer. So, thanks for being a fan of Canadian bacon. Thanks for being a fan of Rumble here. And let's stay in touch. And we'll send you your prize. And thanks again for the risk you're taking right now, delivering packages to people's homes. It's
thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. And thanks. This podcast has been great. I mean, what do you have? Did you say 92 episodes in 6 months?
Yes, I know.
That's a great output.
I was only going to do it once a week. It just so much started happening. I couldn't stop. And
with the ups and downs of the Bernie race, I was like every day, I'm like, come on, Michael, what do you got to say? What do you got to say? Like, I was so into it, but then the whole world's turned to crap since then. And I'm glad you're there. I'm glad you're there, giving us the news and telling us, and the people the guy from the insurance company, that was a great episode.
Wow. What a revelation, huh?
Yeah. Wow.
VP of Cigna, former VP, telling the truth about what these health insurance companies are really up to.
Well, I'm glad they're prepared because, we'll get that universal health care one day.
That's right. That is absolutely right. I think we're going to get some good things post-pandemic here. I really believe that people have had enough now. And I hear this more often than anything else. I don't want to go back to the old normal. Yeah. We want normalcy in our lives, but we don't want to go back to all of that, which wasn't good for us.
Yeah, this is a great time.
It's a great time. It's a great moment to do it. And thank you, my union brother, for everything that you're doing in your daily life and raising those two girls. Lila and Callie. Callie, yeah.
Callie, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good for you, man. Life is good. Life is good, and it can be better. So, bless you. Thank you. And
thank you, Mike.
And thanks for representing Southern New Jersey in such a profound way. I appreciate it. All right. Take care.
Great.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Mike.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, Rob. Bye-bye. Well, that was great talking to Rob there. And again, I just want to repeat my thanks and gratitude. And I think I speak on behalf of many people listening to this podcast. Our thanks to everybody who has been out there working, whether you mop the floors at the hospitals, whether you stock the grocery shelves in the middle of the night, whether you deliver us our packages. you've been willing to do what I can't and won't do, which is to be out there amongst people. And so that means you've taken a greater risk than I have. And while I think what the people who've been able to stay at home and stay away and, stay in some sort of lockdown has helped, at least in the states that have been obeying these orders. We've things have gotten a bit better. The other states where they aren't doing it, I wish you would do it, because it worked in the worst places. And let me tell you, New York, New Jersey, Michigan were really bad. And now they're better. Not over. No way. We're not anywhere near over, but it's better. So thank you to Rob for risking your health and your life to drive that truck and deliver those packages. And thank you to everybody else out there who are doing similar jobs so that the rest of us don't have to. I'll never forget it. And I will always push for the fact that you should be taken care of, whether it's your wages, your benefits, your protections, whatever. None of us will forget 2020, and you'll be able to say that you left the house. You took that risk so that we didn't have to, so that we could live. Our final guest and listener on today's podcast is the co-winner of the 10 millionth listener. They just happened to have plopped down at the same time, and so we had a tie, which was great because this allowed our third winner to be an international listener. As long as you consider Canada international, I do. They are not us. And a whole wave of Canadians just went, yes, thank God. But our third guest tonight, her name is Kathy Best, and she lives on Vancouver Island, just off the coast. It's part of British Columbia, and off the coast of Canada there in the Pacific Ocean. And she... Basil here, our executive producer, just got her all lined up today on Zoom. It's her first Zoom, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her. And I want to thank all the people who don't live in the United States who listen to this podcast. It means a great deal to me, and I love getting emails from you and voicemails and whatever. So thank you for the feedback. Thank you for checking out my view of what's going on in the United States right now. And to the Canadians who make up, I've seen the analytics of this, make up almost 10% of our total audience. That's huge. There's only 35 million Canadians. So thank you again to the Canadians who have supported my work over the years and have been our good neighbors here in Michigan. I'm not here in Michigan right now. I'm in New York City, but actually in New York borders Canada, so you're still our neighbors. All right. Anyways, let's get her on Zoom here. Our 10 millionth listener. We are now speaking on the phone with our other. There was a tie for our 10 millionth listener. It was happening pretty fast that night, and we're talking to Kathy Best. From Vancouver Island in British Columbia, which is part of Canada, in case you weren't taught that in school.
Campbell River, it's even smaller.
Campbell River.
Vancouver Island and then Campbell River.
See, okay, right away, proof that she's Canadian. She's so trusting. She is telling this American listening audience exactly where she is on Vancouver Island.
That's right.
Thank you for your trust in us.
You bet.
But so you were also number 10 million along with Rob Messick, and we were happy to see that we had a Canadian because we know we have we have a big international audience to this podcast. We hear from people all over the world. Anyways,
I don't know where I'd be without your information either. So
that's so kind of you to say that. So you had listened to it before the contest to be the 10 millionth listener.
Oh yeah, I saw it the very first Rumble because I follow you on all your Instagram and Facebook. So I just get those. I put you as a primary favorite on my, and then I just get little bings whenever you come on. So you said that you had a Rumble coming on. So I directly went, I listened to Mark Maron, and you're my second favorite. Oh. Mark Maron, I've been listening to him for 10 years.
Oh, no, my God, he's great. Are you kidding?
He gets number one.
Yeah. No.
Number two.
I've been on his show. I've been in his garage there.
Good. That was one of my questions.
Yes. No, he's great. He's absolutely great.
He's awesome.
Actually, to be considered to be number two next to him, and that's high praise, because he's earned it for many, many years. I've done this for 6 months.
Yeah, he's amazing. But you've been doing it for a long time too, just not in public. Right. I haven't followed you since you were 15, but I have followed you since maybe 2002. So.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So, and thank you for putting me a little star by my, so that your phone dings when I post. I can't get either of my sisters to do that. Just, and they say to me, "Oh, we didn't know you were going to be on Bill Maher." I said, "I posted it." I said, if you would just put a ding, but when I post something, you would know, if I was going to be on.
Turn your phone on or something.
No, they're otherwise they're wonderful sisters.
You talk about them very nicely on your show.
Yeah, no, I'm so lucky to have them. It's and the one closest in age to me isn't even a year younger than me. We're Irish twins. So, so my poor mom. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 6, so I know what it's like to have brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And lots of them.
How many boys and girls are there?
There's 3 boys, 3 girls, and I'm the youngest of the 6 of them.
So what do you do there on Vancouver Island? Not to be confused with Vancouver, the city.
That's right, because it's a little island. Well, I have a small home-based business where it's called Kathy's Hot Damn Jam, and I make
whoa, wait a minute. Called what? Kathy's Hot Damn Jam.
Yeah, DAM. Hot Damn DAM Jam. So it's decadent infused jams made with fruit and liquor and chocolate.
Wow.
So my new flavor is cherry double oak bourbon chocolate. So they're little jams. Yeah, and I process them, and I put little labels on them, and I sell them in markets. And right now we don't have any markets because of the pandemic. So I sell online. People take orders, and I send them in the mail and ship them and deliver them. And I also make fresh salsa, and I deliver that in my town. I just get customers offline, and I get orders. And every 2 weeks, I make a huge batch of fresh salsa. And I put it in little containers, and I deliver it to my customers once every 2 weeks or so.
Now, where are you making this at your home, or?
Yeah, I have a home-based business and a home license with the Vancouver Island Health Authority, and I can sell to small markets. So I use Grand Marnier. So I have a strawberry Grand Marnier, and then I have a raspberry double oak bourbon and a cherry double oak bourbon with chocolate, and the strawberry margarita with a tequila called 1921. So it's a tequila that I bought in Mexico a couple of years back. So I just take whatever I like, whatever I have, and make it into and then, these jams are decadent. So they're not like, you wouldn't open it and maybe put it on toast. You would put it on your charcuterie board. Do you know what that is?
No. What kind, on a board?
It's a teaching day for me.
I know.
Charcuterie. I don't know how to spell it, but charcuterie. And it's a board filled with deli meats and crusty breads and olives and pepperonis.
Sure, I think I know what this is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get them at restaurants or you make them at home. And then you take a blob of this jam and a little blob of maybe grainy mustard, and you just kind of put that all together on your charcuterie board.
And then, so what do you dip into the jam? You
dip like the crusty bread with some cheese and maybe a pepperoni, and then the jam on top, and then you plop it into your mouth. And
it's like a little kind of a decadent sandwich, right?
Decadent little, like at your happy hour, when you're having a little happy hour with your family or your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, or your husband, whatever the case may be.
I've never had a happy hour, but yeah.
You've never had a happy hour?
Every week or two, maybe. There's 1 hour in my life that's happy.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm kidding. I
tend to do a lot of happy hours by myself these days. So
why is that? No, this could be dangerous.
Because I've been.
because you.
Shape, yeah.
You've been inside. Oh my God.
I've been inside, and I've been out probably 4 times to the grocery store in 3 months, and I've delivered my no contact delivery, my salsa and jams to some of my customers.
Has that worked?
Yeah, I don't have enough people, but I just do it to keep me from maybe crying underneath my bed or whatever.
Oh, no. So,
no, it's not that.
But in non-pandemic times,
yes,
these jams are enough that you can make a living doing this.
Well, no, I don't make a living. I make enough money for Christmas and birthday gifts for my 3 kids and 3 grandchildren.
So what's the day job that allows you to survive?
It's my husband works. He lives in Ontario, which is 5,000 miles away from. So it's on the other side.
Perfect marriage, then, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. He's there till he I don't know, finishes work or retires. And he got moved from Vancouver to there for the next. So he's been there for 3 years, and I think he's going to be there for another 2 years. But we talk all the time on Facebook and FaceTime, and now it's graduated to Zoom now. So we're staying within the times, And we've been together for 35 years or something.
Oh,
like
my
that,
goodness.
So.
Yeah. You're okay.
Forever. Yeah, we're great. And I would never complain about him not being here because of that same reason, is that I would never complain about that, because some people don't have that. I'm fortunate to have that. And I would never say, I'm sad that he's not here, because really, to be honest, if he's here, I can only handle him 3 days at a time anyway. So you'd have to go back home within 3 days.
So, but what you're saying is you're fortunate because you have this 35-year relationship.
Yes.
And fortunate that the two of you have an income where you're not having to grovel.
Not having to grovel. No.
Right.
And I've never really had to. The only way I know about people groveling is when I listen to anything from the United States and what happens there. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine it. I just can't imagine. I would never say I know how you feel, because
no. But how is that? Why is it in Canada that is it just that you have such a strong safety net that if you do hit upon hard times, the society has decided that you're not to be punished because you've hit upon hard times?
I've never experienced that either. But there are people with no money and no jobs and in poverty here.
What happens? What happens then?
I don't know. I don't know what happens to them. They go on welfare, or
there's a welfare system that gives them some money.
Yes.
Should they be without?
Yes. And I don't think I've ever been on it in my entire life, because again, I've been fortunate and made some good decisions in my life and stayed in a stable relationship and had 3 children and just kind of go with the flow. I'm not saying I've had no problems, but when I listen to you and your podcast, and when I listen to the CNN News, or if I listen to any cold case crime podcasts about the old days, and it's all in the States, and I'm thinking, God, I just can't imagine. And then I just love my life every minute after that. After I listen to the hardships of other people.
This is why people used to watch soap operas. So if at the end of the soap opera, you just felt like, well, I thought my life was bad, but that's pretty bad. Yeah, so I feel a little bit
That's really bad.
You just watch the news from the United States and you turn that off and you go, wow. Yeah. So you were saying, so you've never had to be on welfare in Canada?
No, well, I haven't personally.
What do you pay? What's your premium for your health care each month? How much do you have to pay for your health insurance? I'm just curious.
I've heard you ask these questions before, and
I know.
I don't,
because this is what makes me mad.
My husband pays, but I'm sure he pays something, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah. Okay. I think the answer would be
zero.
Out of that. Yeah. Do you know what a deductible is? Do you know what? You ever hear of a deductible?
I do know a deductible only because I think if you own a house or you get in a car accident, there's a deductible if you.
Oh, for that kind of insurance. Yes, that's true. Yeah. So you would know that. How about a copay? You know what a copay is?
No.
No, you have no idea.
If my husband's here, you probably know, but I don't know the answers to
No,
those.
he doesn't know because you don't pay a copay in Canada.
Okay.
You pay
You tell
taxes.
me, no. I think you're partially Canadian. I always think of you as my soul brother, like a Canadian.
Oh, thanks.
Dash.
My grandfather was born in Ontario. He was Canadian, and he was a farmer, and then he was a teacher, and then he wanted to be a doctor, but there were no, at that time in the 1800s, medical schools in that part of Ontario. So he came to Michigan to go to medical school, and that's how I ended up.
Right. So, what part of Ontario? Do you know the town?
Yeah, it's called Alveston. It's halfway between Sarnia and London, Ontario.
Okay. Oh, that's where my husband's from. Is from that part of Ontario. His family is from Owen Sound.
Oh yeah, Owen Sound, of course. Yes.
Yeah, and Meaford is a really small town called Meaford, and that's where he went to school.
Yes, I know that area very well, and we have Canadian relatives. And
he'll be happy to know. See, I knew you were a little Canadian, a little bit Canadian.
Well, it's partly. I don't know partly it's because just politically, I don't you got to understand, if you're in Detroit, you're in Port Huron, Michigan, you're in Sault Ste. Marie, you look across a river that's a quarter of a mile, half a mile wide, and you wonder how is, I pick the subject matter. Why are there 300 murders in our city here on one side of the river? And in many years in Windsor, Ontario, across the river from Detroit, there are 0 murders, maybe 1.
Well, you know what that's from.
Bad year would be 2.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't carry arms. I'm actually afraid. I'm afraid of them.
But hunting is one of your top sports.
Hunting, if you're a hunter, my son hunts. Yeah. But he goes right up, like somewhere, I don't even know where he goes. And my husband hunted all his life and had guns, rifles and stuff, but in a big box locked away. I hate them, and I'm afraid of them because I didn't come from that kind of I was brought up on the island in a really, really, really small town. So even smaller than the one I'm in right now. So.
But your husband and your son own guns, and yes, and like many Americans who own guns, what I've just always been amazed by is why is it that Canadians don't take the guns they own and go shoot somebody when they get upset?
Because we're not angry at anybody.
Okay, I have seen your hockey players. I have seen Canadian anger.
They get paid to be angry, though. We don't get paid to be angry. I think we just bleed it out differently, our anger, and I don't think we have nothing.
Why is that? You're just across the river. You're just like us. You have the same 23 chromosomes in each of your cells. Why?
I know, Michael. I don't know. And I'll never forget the podcast you did about the nurses. I was telling my husband about one of your podcasts that you were telling us about nurses that came over from the border to Detroit.
Yes, during the pandemic here.
Did they? Yes. My question is, did they get paid, or were they summoned, or did they come over voluntarily? That was my question.
Well, they had to come over voluntarily because they were going to have to enter a city that was per capita close to New York in terms of the number of people that were dying. So they came voluntarily to help. Yes, they were paid, and they were put up in hotels and dorms and whatever, but at some sacrifice. They don't live in Detroit; they live in Canada. Yeah, and I think it was Rashida, our congresswoman from Detroit.
Oh yeah, I listened to that.
Yeah, I think what did she say, Basil? There were like 1,000, 2,000 Canadian nurses that were in Michigan trying to help out. It was a real gift. From these, Canadian nurses. And, I think what I have said to my fellow Americans for many years is that, I think we would be better off if we were a little more Canadian-like. I mean, you don't want to go full Canadian because that might get a little boring for us, but there are many ways that you have chosen to do things that I just think, God, I think we'd be so much happier and better.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, sure.
If today was your last day to speak on Earth, in one sentence, what would you say?
What would I say? Oh my God.
I have two more, and you can think about that one.
Well, no, I might read a poem aloud by Langston Hughes.
Okay.
He wrote this poem. I don't know. It might have been back in the 30s, 1930s, called "Let America Be America Again."
Yeah.
And it sort of takes the opposite approach to make America great again, because his point was then and would be now that we never actually did attain the greatness that we said we wanted to, or we thought we could be, but never were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so beautiful. And I would like to, if I were to leave, I'd like to leave with them thinking about those words of his.
Yeah.
And,
just something peaceful and positive, peaceful and positive instead of big up.
And a challenge that hope just doesn't come out of thin air.
Yeah.
That to be truly hopeful, we have to make that happen.
Yeah. There's no praying and hoping and cross fingers. But those days are gone, and
those are gone.
Those are childish. There's like when we were children, we hoped and prayed and we crossed our fingers. We're full-blown adults, and I don't know what I can do as a Canadian. I don't know, except just sit and with my white knuckling as I watch television every day.
Well, keep being Canadian. Keep being a good model for us. Live your lives the way you live them, because you operate with this concept of we. Mm-hmm. And we're all about, sadly, too much me.
Yeah.
And so if you can inspire enough people as Canadians, people to the south of you, then you will have done a good thing. What's your second question?
My second question is, what is the driving force that makes you who you are today? And if you had a chance, would you do anything differently?
Well, the driving force, geez, I've just always, since I was a kid.
I know. I knew you were going to say this because I know you go back as far as your teens and your first standing up for politics and finding out who's good.
Well, even before I knew about politics, though, I did not like situations that I thought weren't fair. Where there wasn't some basic decency and fairness involved. Yeah. And it made me mad. And of course, when I'm really a kid, you don't know what to do. You have no power to do anything
and you have no
it.
words. You're not articulate. You're not articulate your feelings, or you just know in your heart that it's wrong.
That it was wrong, and it's wrong when I'm watching. This is wrong.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me for quite some time. And as I became a teenager and then an adult, then I knew that there was a different kind of fuel that was running my engine, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That I couldn't sit by and be silent. I always believed that silence was complicity, and that I needed to stand up and speak out for those that didn't have what I had, or for the things that I didn't have that I felt that I and others like me who came from the working class of Flint, Michigan, that we deserved. So that the what was the final question?
The part of that last one was if you could do anything different, what would it be? If you could do anything different, like the first part of the question, what was your driving force? And that's the A of that was, and what would you do differently if you could? If you could go back and do something different, what would it be?
Well, for me, that's a very personal question. Okay. And because I've asked myself that, I don't have to ask myself because I already know the answer to it, but I don't really know the answer because I'll say to myself, if only I had done this.
Yeah.
Or only if I hadn't done that. But then how do I know that I would be here?
That's your answer then is 2020, right? So
and then maybe you have to just let it be, and you have to say that's the way life is and was, and that how I wish I hadn't taken that job and then I got fired, but it was when I was fired that I came up with the idea to make my first movie. So I never would maybe have made that first movie had I not been fired. So what I've learned by this point in my life is that when something god awful happens, just whether, there's some crisis or calamity in my life, instead of becoming morose and dark and everything else, like I might have when I was younger, it's not that I get happy about the the bad luck that I've encountered. But I will say to myself, do you remember what's happened every single time in your life when shit happened to you? And it could have been a job, it could have been a relationship, it could have been any of a number of things. And what happened when that, the cliche of that, when that door closed, suddenly this window opened, and that is what happens.
Something greater happens, right?
Yes. And if the bad things hadn't happened to me, I never would have done the better things.
Yeah, that left turn or that right turn, whatever it was.
Now, when it happens, when the bad stuff happens, I go, oh, wow.
Yeah. That's the term "shit happens" came along.
Well, but I actually get happy when shit happens now, because that cliche of "it's always darkest before the dawn." I now know I'm at my darkest point, which means, ta-da! Here comes the sun.
Now we don't have to wait much longer because of that. Yeah.
No, and that is, you don't know that though when you're in your teens or 20s or 30s. That there's your life is like a wave that does go up and down, and it has to go down before it can come up. And so that I've learned, and therefore I do not despair when the down happens. So, and even if it's in a time like this where I'm confined to my apartment here on day one.
And me too. And I often wonder when you're talking and you're saying you're in your apartment, I go, so am I. I'm in my apartment. I've been here since March 8th. And I just keep cleaning and cooking and gaining 10 pounds. And I'm just thinking it's what I do always, except I go to markets to sell. But I'm pretty much doing everything that I would normally do, except maybe getting out a bit more.
And I've started to do things I haven't done in a long time. Or things I've never done, and I'll do a podcast when we're near the end of the pandemic. By the way, it will end. By the way, everyone should know that. Viruses do not last forever. The bubonic plague, I believe, was a bacteria based, and went for 300 years. Pandemic with a virus, not so long.
Right.
A couple 3 years. We'll be through this if we all do the right things. But I want to do a podcast about what I've learned during this time. Like just even talking to you, I've learned all this stuff about jam and
habanero peppers
and peppers that I knew nothing about. So I will take that with me today. I'll write that in my diary, and I will be grateful for Kathy Best. We are at the end of this, but it means a lot to me that you were listening to the podcast from the beginning.
Well, I'd love to send you some jam, Michael Morso.
I would love that. I would love to share your website or address or whatever with the people who are listening to this, because I know people's mouths started watering as you described those various jams. So if people want Kathy's Hot Damn Jam,
DAM.
DAM, please.
Go to,
keep it clean. It's Canada. Keep it clean.
I'm on Facebook as my little Facebook page is Kathy's Hot Damn Jam, and you just go there and you'll see all my products. I make a whole other bunch of products. So
you're at Kathy's Hot Damn DAM Jam.
Jam.
And no apostrophe S, just Kathy's.
I don't know. I don't think it's apostrophe. No, I think it's just Kathy's Hot Damn Jam. I think if you just write Hot Damn Jam with the HOTDAMJAM, it'll come up on Facebook.
It'll come up. Well, Kathy, thank you. And you don't have to say, I'll pay for it. I mean, you don't,
okay.
I want to support you. And I think you're going to get a few orders from people listening to this.
That'd be great.
Well, I've been talking to Kathy Best from Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada, Campbell River to be specific. We're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
You're going to get
as long as I get to keep hearing your voice. And I wanted to say 2 words to you: vulnerability equals courageous. Vulnerable equals courageous. That's how I think of you.
Oh, geez. That is no. I'm serious. That's very.
I heard that saying one time, and I thought of you right away when somebody said, "To be courageous, you have to be vulnerable." Is the thing. You can't do it.
I've never heard that. I've learned that. That's a new thing I learned.
That's another Canadian thing, I guess.
Yes.
To be courageous, you have to be vulnerable. So vulnerability equals courageous. That's something I just want to write and put it up on my wall.
We all need to do that. So
yeah, I think so too. So
Thank
those are
you.
my 2 last words.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for being our 10 millionth listener, along with Rob Messick, and I hope our paths will cross someday
That's
there
good.
in or
Yeah.
around Vancouver. Listen, you have to be from the Midwest or Canada to understand the long goodbye whenever you leave your relative's house, your friends, whatever. Kathy Best, thank you for that. I'm looking forward to the jam, and hang in there out on that island. It's all this. This has been great talking to these 3 listeners. Wow. We'll do this again sometime. I love hearing the feedback and having that discussion. I love the sense that we're all in this together. I hope you feel that way. I feel that way. And if we keep this up, I do believe things are going to get better, folks. It won't happen on its own. It will happen with our action. So that's it for our 6-month anniversary show, episode number 92. Looking forward to the next 6 months, the next 92 episodes. And thank you, all of you, for being here with me. I also want to thank our executive producer, Basil Hamden, our editor and sound engineer, Nick Quaz, the Rumble kitchen cabinet, Ann, Veronica, Kelsey, Joe, Donald, Harold, Dania, all of you. Thanks also to our underwriters who have been supporting us, and I ask you to please support them. And many thanks to all of you who are listening, all you listeners who are surreptitiously listening to me in your cubicles, your cars, classrooms, wherever you're hiding deep inside the Amazon warehouse, out sneaking a quick smoke outside the Stop and Rob, slaving away in the lettuce fields, surviving whatever assembly line you're stuck on, heading home on the N train. Thanks to the elderly and to the new moms who are listening, to the florist, the barista, the barristers, and all of you downloaders, freeloaders, free subscribers, college dropouts, the mass incarcerated, soon to be freed, and the soon to be incarcerated commander-in-chief. I promise to come see you on visiting days. All of you, you can leave me a voicemail, a personal voicemail. I listen to these. You can leave it right here on the podcast platform page. There's a link to leaving me a voicemail. Do that. I love it. You can also write me an email at mike@michaelmoore.com. mike@michaelmoore.com. I read my own email, but I rarely have time to answer it. But write me anyways, because, I'm a little lonely right now. Also, please subscribe to Rumble. It costs nothing. Plus, it'll also pick up my spirits. Just go again to whatever platform you're listening to this on, find the subscribe button and hit it. It's free. And don't forget our Rumble Media's first feature-length movie, Planet of the Humans. We've had it up now for close to 6 weeks, and it's still available for free. No longer censored. It's on my YouTube channel. Go watch this movie, the movie they didn't want you to see. I wanted to also just close by telling you that we have big plans here for Rumble Media, and we want you to be part of it. We've got a lot of ideas in the coming months, so stay tuned for more of our ruckus and our rebellion. We have had it, and you have had it. We're not going back to the old normal. So that's that, folks. Let's take this revolt forward and create the true democracy and the equitable, peaceful, fair, and kind society that we've been promised forever and never got to have. Let's do it. Let's rumble. I'm Michael Moore. I'll talk to you soon. See you in the streets.